Hey everybody, this episode is all about the top 10 players at each position for Fantasy Football Week 7. Let's get it going. Okay, so everybody, what I do for Get Paid and my math, everything I do for fantasy football, I use machine analytics and I watch every single game and I pair those things together. Now, what I thought would be interesting is let me put out the computer projections that I use every week and I publish every week to my readers, and I'll give you some more information on how to sign up for those. It's completely free to sign up for those rankings as we go forward. And it's the full rankings, not just the top 10. But what I wanted to do is I built basically a robot. I built a series of equations that I call the RoccoBot. I named it after a friend of mine. And the RoccoBot, what it does is it spits out, without bias, it analyzes each game, each position matchup, not team versus team, not even wide receiver versus defensive backs. It isolates matchups, and it gives a fantasy point projection based on a full PPR. And so what I wanted to do was just give you the computer projections and talk about them. And this is a new segment. This is kind of a test segment. So if you like it, please comment and let me know that you like it. If you don't, then, let's just ditch it and call it, a failed attempt. But let's just go ahead, and I'm going to get started with the quarterbacks here and top 10 in order. So I have Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Matt Ryan, Lamar Jackson, Daniel Jones, Jared Goff, Gardner Minshew, Russell Wilson. Now, this is important, okay? Notice who's not on that list: Patrick Mahomes. If you have Patrick Mahomes on your fantasy roster, here's my theory. If you draft a quarterback like that, or anybody in the top couple of rounds, you draft that person to be a star. And that star means that they can overcome matchup disadvantages, right? So what my computers are telling me, what RoccoBot is saying is, hey, Patrick Mahomes, he's probably not the best buy for you this week in daily fantasy. If you have another really solid star, like let's just say, for example, you have Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes on your roster, I don't know why you would, but let's say you do, then maybe you start Deshaun Watson. But don't bench do not bench Patrick Mahomes for Gardner Minshew this week just because my RoccoBot is telling you that. That's not what I designed it to do. I designed it primarily to help with daily fantasy and to help with my bottom roster stuff, maybe my running back too, maybe my bottom flex guy. So that's what I'm trying to do here. I am not in any way endorsing the idea of starting Gardner Minshew over Patrick Mahomes, but what my computers and what RoccoBot is saying is, hey, maybe you want to pay attention to like a guy like Kyler Murray this week. He has a nice favorable matchup against the New York Giants. Daniel Jones, for that matter, has a nice favorable matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. These are things you want to pay attention to, especially if you're playing daily fantasy football. You don't want to be blowing your budget on a guy like Patrick Mahomes when maybe a Kyler Murray or a Josh Allen could give you that kind of benefit too. Josh Allen playing the Miami Dolphins this week. Now, moving it on, let's go through. For the rest of the position groupings, I am just going to be taking the top 10. But for running backs, they're so important. I like to just talk about the top 15. So once again, let's go in order here. We have Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Mark Ingram, Phillip Lindsay, you got Gordon, you got Mack, Freeman, Johnson, Barkley, who is questionable, by the way, Kamara, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Chris Carson, LaShawn McCoy, not Damian Williams, mind you, LaShawn McCoy, and Tevin Coleman. So what is this telling us? Well, first of all, Derrick Henry being at 12, is he my top 12th favorite running back? No, he's higher than that, right? Again, this is not about who's the better running back. This is not about, hey, what, you're a fan of, let's say, the San Francisco 49ers and you like Tevin Coleman, so I should put him higher. It's not about that. This is completely unbiased computer equation algorithm. It's the same kind of stuff that ESPN uses to make their projections. It's the same kind of stuff that daily fantasy savants out there use to make their projections. The only difference is I'm publishing it for free. So there you go. It's worth every penny, right? So what am I looking at this week? If I'm looking at daily fantasy bargains, I'm probably not going to buy David Johnson, but maybe Devonta Freeman, who I'm usually down on, and my computers are usually down on, but Atlanta likes this matchup. It looks to be a high-scoring game this week for Atlanta. Marlon Mack I like every week. Melvin Gordon, the projection for the Chargers against the Titans is that Melvin Gordon is going to be getting a little bit more catches out of the backfield, going to be getting a little bit more carries. Very interesting. LaShawn McCoy over Damian Williams, because I give Damian Williams, I think as I watch these games, I think he's more explosive. I think he's the better back in that offense. I think he's better out of the backfield, receiving passes. But I think LaShawn McCoy, my computer, the RoccoBot, has identified kind of a mismatch with LaShawn McCoy's style of running play with the Denver Broncos. So again, daily fantasy-wise, if you're playing a Thursday night showdown, maybe that's something you want to pay attention to. All right, let's move it on. We have the wide receivers, top 10 in order. Tyreek Hill, Michael Gallup, Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen, Larry Fitzgerald, Philip Dorsett, who is questionable, Amari Cooper, who is questionable, Jamison Crowder, Michael Thomas, John Brown. First thing you're going to be asking me is where the hell is DeAndre Hopkins, right? Again, just drilling this point into everybody. I'm not going to do this week after week, but again, I know DeAndre Hopkins is a beast. I know it, okay? He's playing Indianapolis. It's a tough matchup, okay? Here's something that's interesting. So Amari Cooper is questionable. I didn't write that Philip Dorsett is questionable. He is. Devontae Adams is also questionable, okay? So those are things you're going to want to go on if you're playing daily fantasy and you put him in lineups or any of those guys in lineups. Go to NFL.com/inactives before the game. They always publish the inactives an hour beforehand. So if you're daily fantasy playing, make sure you swap out those players. Now, Philip Dorsett against the New York Jets, it's a slot receiver type role against the New York Jets, who blitz quite a bit. I think the hot reads, RoccoBot favors the hot reads for New England in this game. I thought it was interesting that Philip Dorsett came back higher than Julian Edelman this week, but that's part of the fun of having a robot make these projections for you. Now, Michael Gallup is projected to have a big week. This is important. It's assuming that Amari Cooper will play and will play the entire game. What it's doing, and I've seen this in a couple weeks in a row, and I successfully predicted Stephon Diggs was going to have a big game last week. Now, I didn't think he was going to have 3 touchdowns big, but I did suggest putting him into your lineups because of this mismatch. Now, Philadelphia, their second and third cornerbacks aren't playing particularly well. It's a weakness. It's Philadelphia's defense's Achilles heel. And this is pretty much coming back week after week. RoccoBot is finding this as a deficiency in the Philadelphia passing game, pass defense, I should say. So, a couple things here. If you have somebody on your schedule, let's say you have Sterling Shepard and Golden Tate on your roster, right? This is going to be important because the Giants play Philadelphia a couple times per year. This one is important here because Michael Gallup is expected to have the bigger game. But again, if Amari Cooper is out, then Gallup is probably going to be drawing that number one coverage. So then you want to start looking at and feeding people up, or maybe a waiver pickup and play of a guy like Randall Cobb if he's available, Tavon Austin if he's available. Again, the weakness for Philadelphia is that second and third cornerback. If that number one, that primary coverage, I believe it's Byron Jones. On the Philadelphia side, Byron Jones is a Cowboy. If on the Philadelphia side, the number one cornerback is going to be drawing coverage over Michael Gallup because Amari Cooper's out, it's going to skew these projections. So pay attention. Once again, it's NFL.com/inactives. If Michael Gallup is the primary receiver, if Amari Cooper's out, once again, look and see if Randall Cobb is playing. Look and see if Tavon Austin is playing. And look again, I think they also have Devin Smith, if I'm not familiar. They did earlier in the season, but I'm not sure. Let's move to tight ends here. In order, we have the Giants, Evan Ingram, in a stupid projection at 32.29 points. That is a ridiculous projection. Now, Evan Ingram in DraftKings is listed at $6,500. This is one of the rare times whenever I see something come back at over a 30 projection, it really likes the matchup. Giants versus Arizona. I have an asterisk on Evan Ingram. Obviously, he's dinged up. He's injured. We don't know if he's going to play. For that matter, Saquon Barkley, who I was talking about earlier in the segment, he's questionable as well. I think he'll play this week. I believe he's practicing, but we'll see how it goes. Once again, NFL.com/inactives before the game. But Evan Ingram, if he plays, this is a huge matchup. I'm going to be spending $6,500 in my league. Obviously, if you're making a decision at tight end for your roster, even if you have a strong tight end, you could even flex out Evan Ingram this week. That's what that's saying. And to build a little bit of credibility, I actually picked Seals Jones last week up off of the waivers based on my projections because it had Seals Jones getting in the end zone, and wouldn't you know, he got in. Number 2 is Mark Andrews. Number 3, Austin Hooper. Then you have Darren Fells, an interesting one for Houston. Usually I'm not high on Houston's tight ends. Fells has been used a little bit more. Deshaun Watson's pass protection has been a little bit stronger in recent weeks. weeks. Deshaun Watson surveys the field. This looks like Fells is going to get a touchdown to me based on the projections. So if you're looking for a waiver plug-in and play, you're desperate for a touchdown this week, Fells might be that Ricky Seals-Jones type guy from last week. You scoop him up off of waivers and you get a touchdown out of him. Then you have Zach Ertz and George Kittle, right? Two of the three best tight ends at 5 and 6 respectively. T.J. Hawkinson, Darren Waller, Hayden Hurst, a second tight end from Baltimore. They like that Baltimore tight end matchup against Seattle, old RoccoBot. And then Gerald Everett. You notice who's not on this list? Travis Kelce. So again, RoccoBot's not super high on the Kansas City passing game. I personally, if I have Kansas City Chiefs in my passing attack, if I have Travis Kelce, I'm playing Travis Kelce. I'm not going to pick up Darren Fells off of waivers and put Kelce on the bench. I'm not going to do it. You can. I won't, right? And I'm the guy who wrote the program. Okay, so you have Kelce, he's not in there. Ebron and Doyle aren't in there. I mean, I like those guys, but again, if I'm looking for a waiver plug-in and play, you're probably looking at Everett, you're looking at Hurst. Hawkinson's on my waivers. I don't know if he's on yours. Darren Fells. Darren Fells is my favorite waiver grab and play this week. So there you go. Let me know what you think. This is kind of a test segment. Just throwing it out the wall and seeing if this provides value for anybody. Again, these are computer projections. If you want to get RoccoBotic, you can follow me. I'm at TFS_Sean on Twitter. You can also email me, functionalsportsaholic@gmail.com. There is also an email address in the show notes below, so don't worry about jotting it down. Just go into the show notes and you should find the link. What else? You just find me anywhere. You can go to functionalsportsaholic.com. You can email me directly, and certainly we want you to follow our station on YouTube. And once again, please comment. If you like it, let me know. I know you're going to disagree. These things are pretty polarizing. Jamison Crowder being the number 8 overall receiver this week playing against New England's defense. That's an interesting one for me as well. But I like to cycle these through, and let me say this. I have followers that have been using these rankings for a while. They play daily fantasy, and they get paid more often than not. So I'm pretty confident in the rankings. I know they're not for everybody, but they are for me, and they are for some of my followers. And if you want to be a follower, great. It's free to join, so please do so. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you on next week if you guys like the video. Thanks.